Hi, good day everyone! This is Sir Jet, and I'm glad we are together again for another episode of the History Lectures. Today we will have a very interesting lesson. It is the Laguna Copper Plate Inscription, or LCI. This sounds something very new to you, but don't worry, this is a very easy and interesting lesson. What exactly is the LCI? This is how it looks like. This is the oldest written document ever to be found here in our archipelago. It is written on copper. So it's like a paper, but it is made of copper. And you have embossed letters on it. Now, for us to easily see the letters, we took a negative shot of the LCI, and this is the exact shape, as you can notice, and we can now clearly see what is written on the copper plate. And as you can see, it's not in English. But don't worry, we will interpret that in our lesson today. Are you excited? Let's now move on and study what the LCI is all about. Alright. So we will have a context analysis first. So what exactly is the LCI? As I've mentioned a while ago, it is the earliest written document in the Philippines, and it was dug up in 1989 by accident, actually, at the mouth of the Lumban River in Laguna. That's why it's called Laguna Copper Plate Inscription, because it's found in Laguna, in the town of Lumban. Okay, have you been there in Lumban? It is famous for their Barong Tagalog industry. This is Cabuyao, and that's Lumban. So it's basically on the other side of the lake. It's far from where we are. Okay, now it was found in a dredging activity. What is a dredging activity? They have some heavy equipment, and the dredging machine scoops up the riverbed, okay, to make the river deeper. So there were some laborers operating the dredging machine, and one of them accidentally found something that is rolled like an espasol, or like a diploma, and it's color black, and it's hard. So he washed it, and it turned out to be color golden, and he took it home, showed it to his wife, and the wife seeing the color is golden, they opened up the rolled copper plate. Okay, and they saw the wiggly letterings there, and they thought that it's of big value, so they tried to peddle it in the antique shops nearby, thinking that it's made of gold. But actually no antique shop bought it, because it's not made of gold. It's made of copper, which is a cheaper kind of metal. So having no buyer, the couple donated what they found in the Lumban River to the National Museum in Manila. And the National Museum took it, and basically they displayed it, and then nobody made money out of it. Now the LCI, a closer look at it, it is 8 inches by 12 inches. So it is about the size of a bond paper, because your bond paper is 8.5 by 11 inches. So more or less the size of a bond paper. Can you imagine it? And it's made of copper. Okay, it's a sheet of copper with embossed lettering similar to wiggly worms. Alright? Now, after a year in the National Museum, a visitor came. Okay, this guy. And his name is Anton Postman. He's a Dutchman from the Netherlands. And you know what? He said, I can translate what is written on this copper plate. I can understand it. Why? How? Who is this guy? Anton Postman is an anthropologist. And he lived more than half of his life here in our country in the mountains of Mindoro. He lived with the Mangyan tribe, studying their culture. And he saw that the handwriting or the characters on the copper plate very similar, not exactly, but similar to the Mangyan alphabet. And so he asked permission from the National Museum if he can make a further study on the copper plate. And he was granted permission, and so we now have the following information about the LCI. The LCI was dated around 900 CE. So CE is equivalent to AD. Okay? So the date to date, we are around in the 2020s. Okay? So that's gonna be 2020s CE. Okay? So CE means Common Era. Before it's called AD or Anno Domini. Okay, so 900 CE is around 1,100 years ago. Wow, this is a really very old document. And what's fantastic about this is that it gives us a picture of what was happening in our archipelago 100 years coming of Magellan. Fantastic! We now have an idea of the kind of life our ancestors lived many centuries before the Spaniards. So this is the time of the Datus. And how was life then? The LCI provides us a vivid picture. Now, let me explain first what was happening in our neighborhood in Southeast Asia for us to understand the context of the LCI. Okay, the contents of the LCI. Before we understand the contents, we have to understand the context. So 900 CE in Southeast Asia, how does our neighborhood looks like? There were superpowers actually. There were 4 empires. The Davrati Empire in Thailand. Okay, this is Thailand. You have the Davrati Empire there. And we have the Khmer Empire. It's pronounced Khmer, just like your hand. Okay, Khmer, not Khmer. And it's found in Cambodia, over here. Then there's the Champa Empire in South Vietnam, this area over here. And the Srivijaya Empire in Malaysia and Indonesia. So in other words, the 4 big empires in Southeast Asia can be found on this side. Okay? So I'll tell you about the Philippines in a while. But anyway, these 4 empires were highly influenced by a bigger empire beyond this direction. And you can find there India. So the four Southeast Asian empires were greatly influenced by India, which is a bigger, stronger, wealthier political entity than the kingdoms here in Southeast Asia. They did not conquer, but they trade with the Southeast Asians. And so their culture got integrated in the cultures of the four empires I mentioned a while ago. Particularly language. Okay? So there are many Indian words. Okay? So Indian language is called Sanskrit. There are many Indian words in Southeast Asian languages. Examples are Raha, Datu, Devata. In the Philippines, it's pronounced Diwata. Ahas, Kamay, Muka, Mahal, Asawa. These are Tagalog words actually, but their origin is India. You know the word mahal? Mahal, when you try to bargain something in the palengke, you say, oh, mahal. Okay? And it means there's a building in India called the Taj Mahal. Okay, so it's an Indian word actually. Now, also the handwriting is very Indianized. The way we write our alphabet, if you know the Baybayin or the Alibata, looks similar to Sanskrit. Okay, so as you can see, the influence of India on the Southeast Asian empires. Now, of the four Southeast Asian empires, only one goes to the Philippines or have contact with the ancient inhabitants. Okay, they have the most influence on us, and that is the Srivijaya Empire in Malaysia and Indonesia, because they are the seafaring empire. The other three empires, the Kamay, the Davrati, the Champa, they are more on the landlocked part, okay, or their kingdoms are almost landlocked, or they just travel by land in their vicinity, but they rarely ride their boats. Only the Srivijayan Empire are fond of riding their boats and traveling to the far end of the seas, and they reach our shores. And so we are highly influenced by the Srivijaya Empire. That is why the LCI looks very Sanskrit. Okay? And the names, places, date names are pretty much Srivijayan sounding and Indian sounding as well. Okay, so that's a little background on the context of our story. Now let's go on the contents of the LCI. Now the LCI actually is composed of 10 lines, and Anton Postman translated the LCI line by line as follows. Okay, now this may look a bit small on your screen, but this is available on Blackboard, and you can see this. Just download the PowerPoint file on Blackboard and you can read carefully. Okay, now this is the English translation by Anton Postman in 1991, and this is the original language translation made by a certain expert, Hector Santos. I'll just read a few lines so you have an idea. So it says here in the original language, Swasti Shaka Warshatita Ektutu Waisaka Masading Diotisha Chaturi Krish Napaksha So Namwara Sana Taktala Dayang Angkatan Lawan Dengayan Sanak Bangaran Sibuka. I don't know if you understand the thing. Anyway, in English, okay, what I have read is, hail, in the Saka year 822, the month of March-April, according to the astronomer, the fourth day of the dark half of the moon, on Monday, at that time, Lady Angkatan, together with her relative, Buka by name, the child of his honor Namuwaran, was given as a special favor a document of full acquittal by the chief and commander of Tundun. Each cell is one line. Okay, so 10 cells, 10 lines. So you just read that on your own after downloading the file. Now, I want to point out some comparisons. Okay, let's look at the two translations and let's look for familiar words. I actually encircled them. Okay, and they correspond to one another on the right and on the left. So, a few of the familiar words I saw is this, dayang. Okay, do you know the song Dayang Dayang? Okay, actually it means princess. In the Tausug language in Mindanao, dayang means princess. So princess, princess, dayang, dayang. And over here in the English translation it says lady. Okay, or a royalty female. Okay, lady. Okay, and then the word barngalan. Okay, barngalan, name, sounds like the Tagalog pangalan. Okay, so barngalan. Anakda, over here is translated child. See, anakda, child. Hutangda, hutangda, it's translated as debt. Okay, or sounds like utang, diba? Hutangda, utang, debt. Hadapan, okay, hadapan, in the presence, sounds like harapan. Okay, and we have here anak, descendants over here. Hutangda again is mentioned, debt. Hutangda again, debt. Okay, so hutangda is mentioned 3 times. Okay, so as you can see, the language of the LCI is pretty much Tagalog related. So that's all for today. Study the document and I'll see you in our next meeting. This is Sir Jet saying stay safe. Goodbye and thank you.